So I'm a huge fan of tabletop RPGs. I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons. I played 4th edition, I've played a bunch of 5th edition, and since then I've decided that I wanted to move away from Dungeons and Dragons because frankly I kind of got bored with it. Not to offend anybody, I know there are a lot of die-hard, like lifelong D&D fans out there, but for me, it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons is Neapolitan ice cream. Strawberry, vanilla, chocolate. It's a great approach to ice cream. If you've never had ice cream before, it's got a little bit of the most famous flavors, the original flavors. It's like the granddaddy of ice cream. And so for somebody who's trying ice cream for the first time, it's probably a great place to start. But after you've had nothing but Neapolitan ice cream for like 5, 6, 10 years, and you're fully aware that there are like indie ice cream shops out there that are making these unique handmade flavors that combine, different strange items that maybe you've never thought could even be mixed into ice cream, or you've never thought could be, part of that ice cream experience. You really want to go out there and try those flavors, and you do. And once you do, it's kind of hard to go back to Neapolitan ice cream. It's like, yeah, maybe I'll revisit it every now and then as a nostalgic type thing, or to simplify things down, or if I'm introducing another new person to ice cream. But then once they get a feel for that, we're going to go off and check out some of those other shops because there are some delicious, unique, interesting flavors out there. Tabletop RPGs is kind of the same thing for me. It's like, if I'm introducing somebody new to RPGs, I'm probably, though not certainly, but I'm probably going to use Dungeons and Dragons for like a limited, maybe 10-session campaign. And then from there, I'm going to open up my closet, my shelf, and go, okay, see these other 40 books? This is a whole world of other sort of approaches to tabletop RPGs that, in my opinion, are far more interesting and unique and intriguing than D&D. So, maybe we go one for one, maybe we spend a little time over here and then we go back over there, but I'm not going to live in D&D land forever. It's nowhere near as interesting to me as some of the different RPGs that I own and that I've played. And if you want me to do a video on those, I'm happy to, but that's not what this is about. What this is about is that I love tabletop RPGs, and oftentimes I will see things in the world and my brain immediately goes, that sounds like an RPG. Like that's a great concept for an RPG, or you could totally turn that into a set of rules for an RPG. And this happened not too long ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that, when I was reading this book right here. This is a very well-known Christian book. It's called Mere Christianity. It's written by C.S. Lewis, a Christian, I guess you could call him a scholar. I don't think you'd call him a theologian, maybe. But this is probably one of the most popular Christian pieces of literature, and it's actually not originally a book. I don't want to make this whole video about this, but it's not originally a book. It was originally a radio broadcast that C.S. Lewis was asked to put on by the BBC because the British populace was falling away from faith, and it was creating this general turmoil and sense of desperation within the British populace. And so they said, could you please go on the radio and revitalize these people with your Christian faith and hope? And so he created this, I think, 4 or 5 part radio series that was broadcast on the BBC. And it was basically like the fastest introduction to Christianity you could ever give. And the way that he writes it is brilliant. He's so good at analogy and metaphor. And it's so easy to read his language or to hear his language if you were listening to it back then. I want to say it was given after World War I, but before World War II, somewhere in that window, probably during the Great Depression. Not certain. But when you read this book, it literally starts from, okay, let's agree that no one can be sure if there is or isn't a God. Okay. Then he goes on and he makes the next argument. He's like, here's a bunch of things that make it seem like it's probably more likely that there is a God than there isn't. Okay. Then he then goes on to the next argument. It's like he's laying bricks on top of each other. And by the time you realize it and you get to the end of the book, you and him together, while you're reading his language, have built a church. And you're like, oh, damn, well, I'm a Christian now. It's like, it's maybe not that, perfect of an approach, but it's really effective. He does a really good job. And it's only something like 200 pages long. 210 pages. It's a really good book. If you're a Christian or not, if you're even in any way interested in Christianity, this is a great book to pick up. It's also like $10. I know some pastors and some churches will literally give this away for free because it's such a good approach to an introduction to Christianity that it's worth doing that because it might work a handful of times. But anyways, I was reading this about 2 or 3 years ago. And I do want to quickly touch on one other thing that I love. While I was reading this, my daughter, who's now turning 3 next month, she was maybe like, I don't know, a year old, and she had grabbed a marker and just started writing on all the pages in this book. And I had just got the book. I don't even think I had finished reading it. I think that's why it was out, because I had left it on the table while reading it. And I told my wife, I'm never getting rid of this copy now because it has our 1-year-old daughter's scribbles inside of it. And this is always going to be my favorite copy of this book, even if I get some like seminal issue, like first printing of it. This will be my favorite copy because it has like a physical memory of our daughter being 1 year old in it, which is great. But anyways, while I was reading this book, I was actually on a ferry on my way back from Long Island with the family over to Connecticut, where we then drive home to Massachusetts, where we live, because we have family that live out on Long Island or have a home out on Long Island, and they had a birthday party. And so we had gone to the birthday party, and I was on the ferry on the way home trying to finish this book. And I got to this section, page 76. It's chapter 2 of part 2, I believe. Chapter 2 of book 3. And it's called The Cardinal Virtues. And I'm reading along, having never read this book before. And I get to this section where he's talking about that all Christians believe in these cardinal virtues. I'm going to paraphrase here. But he then goes on to say that the cardinal virtues are prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. And as soon as I read that, my brain went, those sound like stats. That sounds like intellect, dexterity, knowledge, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Like that's what that sounds like. So I read those, and immediately in my head, my brain starts going like, you could turn this into a Christian RPG system. You could use those as the stats, and it could be about a bunch of Christians who are like fighting demons, or maybe they're like exorcists. And I'm just like, my brain starts going, and I have to like push that aside and go back to trying to finish the book. And it always kind of lingered in the back of my head on and off for the last couple of years. And then recently, my son decided he wanted to start inviting some friends over for a game night. And his friends, he's 6, his sons range from, I think, 7 or 8 up to like 12 or 13. They're all boys from church. And they like the idea of board games. They like the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, though they've never really played it. And their parents are fine with it, which is more important because some Christian parents are against that kind of thing. I'm not, and I don't think you should be, but that's a discussion for a different time. But they came over and they seemed to want to play something like an RPG. I was asking them like, what were they interested in? They were like, oh, well, we want a game where we can like fight bad guys, but also like buy things and earn money. And then we could like go on adventures. And I was like, this sounds more like an RPG than a board game. So the first night they came over, I tried to slap together a basic rule set from a couple of other games that I've tried to design in the past that never really went anywhere. Tried to slap together a basic rule set around this idea. I used ChatGPT for a lot of it to accelerate the brainstorming process. And I created this game where you're playing as, chosen warriors during the end times, the tribulation, from the book of Revelation. You've got extended lives like the original, sort of Christian, or the original chosen of God back in the Old Testament, where they would live, 900 years. And so you're given that ability to live forever, so that you could not live forever, but live for a long time, so that you can defend against the creatures of the tribulation, the hell spawn, in order that the people on earth have time to repent and come to Christ. Like that's sort of the loosey-goosey idea. This idea, then after we demoed it once, and they really seemed to like it, but there were still some missing pieces, this has turned into like a major project for me. I'm now spending an hour a day, maybe a little bit more here and there, trying to hammer out a solid set of rules for this game. I've decided it has the working title End Times, because I feel like that's, a well-known term for Revelation at times of tribulation, if you're a Christian or if you've heard Christians speak about this kind of thing. I've basically told ChatGPT, we're going to be as biblically accurate as possible, but because there are missing components from the descriptions, and the descriptions given in Revelation are insanely difficult to comprehend. They're very symbolic and very confusing at times. I said, I want to be as biblically accurate as possible, but at the same time, I want to include some like artistic license filler from sources like H.P. Lovecraft, because that's got a good creepy kind of otherworldly evil vibe to it. I love H.P. Lovecraft, video for another time. And then I was like, also maybe bring in some like Elder Rings, Dark Souls, Bloodborne type, like character, monster design, storytelling tones. And then on top of that, without going too futuristic, because this game is set in the near future, so like sometime in the 2100s, not way in the future, maybe bring in a little bit of like Grimdark, a little bit of Warhammer 40K, but not the super futuristic stuff, no aliens, nothing like that, but the tone and the grit. And ChatGPT was like, yeah, sure, I gotcha, understood. So I've been trucking along with that. I've got some really cool systems that I came up with. I love the idea for the money that I've come up with. I'm not going to get into it here, but if I ever complete the game, I'll tell you guys about it. I've been working on generating some AI artwork, which I actually heard somebody the other day say, if you're generating AI art, you should not think of yourself as an artist, because you are not actually creating the art. However, feel free to think of yourself as an art director, because you are directing the thing or person that is creating the art. So I've art directed some AI art for the game that I really love, with Nano Banana 2.5 and 3.0. As much as I think AI is probably going in a dangerous direction, if used well, it can do some great stuff. And if not used to intentionally corrupt or lie, it's very great. But I think a lot of people will use it for that, so that's eventually going to become a problem, or maybe already has. But it's really good at generating images if you give it thorough descriptions of the type of art and the themes and the style you're going for, and then you tell it specifically what you want in the image. You can even say, like, I want this in the foreground, this in the background, silhouette this, include these features, don't include these features. And I did that, and I've been getting some really good, accurate artwork for the game, for character concepts, for the different classes you can play as, for just cover art for the rule book, page layouts, all kinds of different stuff. So I've been having a blast with that, and I think it's gonna be really cool. I just watched a video the other day about how a lot of Christian parents are against D&D and other games like it because it glorifies witchcraft. I really don't think it does, any more than any movie that's ever come out glorifies non-Christian values. I mean, think of any movie that's come out since the 1960s that doesn't either hint at or show extramarital sex. That's non-biblical, right? So if you're gonna rule all of those out, that's all of media. That's every song, all of film, it's everything, every comic book, everything. And so I think a lot of it comes down to making sure that your family, your children, understand that even though we pretend is not the same as belief. We are pretending that in this setting, this world, this game, these things are real and this can be done. But still, a lot of parents, I think, that are Christian parents have a problem with D&D and games like it. And so trying to design one that is mostly biblically accurate and involves lots of faith-based concepts, that I think you could actually learn in some subtle way, different concepts of theology, Christian theology, through the game, if I'm doing it right. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know how you'd ever pitch it, because 98% of the gaming community is very far left in their beliefs and often very anti-Christian, anti-religion in most cases, though oddly okay with Islam for some reason. Another video. But yeah, I'm probably losing subscribers as I speak. That's fine. I'm gonna say what I believe. That's how you do these things. But anyways, that's a game that I'm working on based off an idea that I had while reading this book because I love RPGs. I hope you guys have enjoyed this ramble. If you want to hear more about this game or how development's going or any demo playthroughs that we do, I'll let you know. If you like, leave a like. If you dislike, leave a dislike. And if you want to see more stuff like this or just want to hear me talk more, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one.